Gonzaga is pursuing the top-ranked recruit in both 2026 and 2027, a clear sign the Zags are pushing all their chips in after the house settlement.
You are Locked On Zags, your daily podcast on the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, y'all? Welcome into the Locked On Zags podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host and longtime Gonzaga podcaster, Andy Patton, here to bring you news and updates on all things Zag athletics. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com, and you'll get 50% off your first year. Well, folks, Gonzaga's made an offer to the top-ranked recruit in the 2027 recruiting class, as well as a 5-star recruit in the 2026 class. We're going to talk about both players and what this aggressive recruiting approach signals for the Zags before we close out the show with what is the biggest news in sports right now, the NBA draft coming up Wednesday for the first round, Thursday for the second round. We'll talk some predictions that I'm going to make about Zags in this draft class, some trades, some draft picks, some team fits, all that good stuff coming up to close out the show. But it is a recruiting first focused episode here on Locked On Zags, as we're going to talk about the top ranked player in the 2027 class, Baba Oladotun, who is a 6'9" forward from Silver Spring, Maryland. And he is the number one ranked player in the 2027 class. That is according to 247 Sports. They also have him number one in their composite rankings. On3, one of the other top recruiting services, has Baba at number 3 in the class, but number 1 among the small forwards. He cemented his spot atop the 2027 class, at least according to 247 Sports, during the NBPA Top 100 camp, which just took place like 2 weeks ago in Texas. And it was a camp for a lot of the kind of the point of the NBPA camp, for those who don't know, is to kind of get some former players, like former college players, guys who want to get into coaching, an opportunity to kind of, learn the ropes a little bit, get some coaching experience. But it's also a great recruiting hotbed opportunity for some of these top players to showcase their skills. And there was, of the 100 players in attendance, 24 of them were underclassmen, including Oladuton, who was one of the best players of the entire camp. And that's what kind of put him, he was already at the top or near the top of the 2027 class, but that really kind of made it clear that he deserved to be up there. He made the all-camp team. He scored 16.5 points per game in the scrimmages that he played. That included a 26-point outburst in his final game where he shot 3 of 5 from 3, I think like 8 of 15 on two-pointers, something like that. Just really high-level scoring in that game. And honestly, you watch the tape, you read the scouting reports, there's a lot of good ones out there. It's pretty clear why he's so highly regarded. We're not going to go full AJ Dibansa here. He's not that level of a player necessarily, at least not yet. But again, he's 16 years old. He's incredibly young, but he's 6'9". He has this insane amount of length and size for a player who plays the wing position. He's 6'9". He's not a 4. He's not a 5. He is a 3. He's very clearly a wing. And again, that is kind of a similar profile to Dibansa, who's joining BYU this year. It's a similar profile to Ace Bailey coming out of Rutgers, who's going to be a top 10 pick in the 2025 NBA draft. If you're curious why I chuckled there, listen to our Monday episode of Locked On College Basketball, because Bailey was a lock to go top 3 until a few weeks ago, and his stock has plummeted a little bit. But these 6'9" score first wings are incredibly valuable players in the NBA, in the college ranks at any level. If you're that big and that long and you can score as smoothly as these guys can, it's no surprise that you're getting tons and tons of attention. He's got great footwork. He's a very fluid athlete, especially for his size and age in particular. Really good mobility, gets to his spots extremely well. And then just with his size and length, it's easy to project him as being a plus defender as well. At his age and his talent level, he looks great on that end of the floor. But I think there's reason to believe that that'll translate over even when he starts playing higher level competition, getting into his later seasons in high school, as well as getting into college as well. And the Zags are certainly not the only person who has noticed Baba and his skill set. He has over 15 college offers this month alone, just in the month of June. Kentucky was the first place to offer him a while ago. They're very, very involved. Mark Pope's already reached out. Their lead recruiter, Jason Hart's already reached out. UCLA is considered a pretty heavy favorite as well. On3 has them at like 40%, which feels insane to predict any recruit in the 2027 class at 40% likely to end up anywhere. I've talked about those prediction rankings in the past of like they had Nick Kaminia at 78% likely to go to Gonzaga. Like these predicting what a high schooler who's 16 years old is going to do is it's an exercise in futility. Let's put it that way. But regardless, I think it gives you at least a good snapshot of where his recruiting is at right now. And UCLA, Kentucky, two of the top schools, but he's got offers from, I mean, it's almost easier to list what high major schools haven't offered him at this point. I mean, what Kansas has, Louisville has, Miami, Oregon, Michigan, Indiana, Texas, Texas A&M, Villanova, USC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's got pretty much his pick of where he wants to end up. I'll mention Maryland because he's from Maryland, and certainly that should be an advantage. Buzz Williams is a quality recruiter there as well, so I'm sure that they're going to make a big push to try to keep him in the state as much as possible. And I think a big part of the story here for Gonzaga is not necessarily how likely are they to get Baba and like, can they get another number one? Like as we get closer as this, if he takes a visit, if there's some more kind of smoke regarding this recruiting, then I think, yeah, maybe we'll talk about it more. But right now, I think the fact that Gonzaga is in pursuit of the top player in the 2027 class, as well as the consensus number one player in the 2026 class, which is small forward Tyron Stokes, is a pretty clear sign that the Zags are aggressively pursuing high school talent. A couple of reasons that could be. I think for starters, we want to indicate that it's not like this is insanely unusual. Going after the top player, the full-on top player in both these classes is fairly unusual for Gonzaga, but it's not like they're not often involved early in recruiting five-star talent. Like just in the last couple of years alone, we've had Nick Kaminia, who we just mentioned, Isaiah Harwell, Kingston Flemings, Asa Newell, Zoom Diallo. Like those were all top tier five-star talents that Gonzaga pursued in some cases for multiple years before they ended up missing out on them. But none of those guys were top five in their class. None of them were number one. And honestly, very few of them were even top 10. I think Harwell kind of flirted with being top 10 in the 2025 class. So did Flemings. Newell and Zoom were in that conversation as top 15, top 10 prospects in the 2024 class, but I don't think they were consensus top 10 guys. Kamini was kind of a late riser. I don't think he ever got into the top 10. So again, maybe it's semantics to be arguing that, oh, this is different because they're the actual number one as opposed to just being top 10 guys. But I do think that it signals a bit more of an aggressive approach for the Zags than we've typically seen. And as I've talked about a few times on the show, and I'll mention again here, I think this is in response to the House settlement, which allows all colleges to spend $20.5 million roughly in NIL deals per year. Now that money gets allocated across all sports, and the majority of programs in the SEC and the Big Ten and other power conferences, many of the schools Gonzaga competes with recruiting wise, are going to spend 75% of that money on their football program. Gonzaga's probably not going to have a full $20 million to spend every single year, especially as we don't know the full scope of the media rights deal from the Pac-12. But assuming Gonzaga will have something in the ballpark of $7 to $8 million to spend on their men's basketball program, that is a big advantage over many other schools. Eventually, these programs will figure out how to reroute some money to these guys, whether it's through third-party NIL deals, whether it's being able to convince the brass to give them a higher cut of the money and take some money from football. Who knows what it might look like. But for right now, while there's some flux around what these SEC and Big Ten and other power programs are going to do with their money, it's hard for those programs to go to a recruit in 2027 and say, yes, we will give you $2 million if you come to our campus. They can't really do that because they don't know. I mean, they can, and they probably will, but it's a great opportunity for Gonzaga to say, we can give you X amount of money, and we feel a lot more confident. I would be selling the heck out of this if I was Gonzaga's coaching staff, whether it's Few or Barsh or Gentry or Michelson or whoever's out there. I would be hammering this point home. They cannot promise you that same amount of money. Their football team is going to take $15 million of their $20 million budget. We have this amount of money. We know we can spend it. We're giving it to you. I would be driving that home. I would be yelling at it with a freaking bullhorn at the EYBL events. I would just be screaming it from everywhere that I can. I think this is a huge, and then I think the key is that it's a likely temporary advantage for Gonzaga. I think this will sort itself out in a way where if Kentucky wants to spend $20 million on basketball, they're going to figure out how to spend $20 million on basketball, legally or illegally. And I'm not trying to pick on Kentucky and saying they're going to cheat necessarily, but like they're going to figure out a way to make this happen. They're going to go through third-party NIL deals. We're going to see how much the new College Sports Commission polices those third-party NIL deals. But I think eventually they're going to figure out a way for boosters to get some money to these guys. But for right now, while they're still figuring that out, Gonzaga should be doing everything they can to make their roster better and take advantage of this unique window of time. And in my opinion, the pursuit of Stokes, the pursuit of Baba Oladotun, the pursuit of many other players, 5-star in the 26 and 27 classes, is a pretty clear sign that that's what they are doing. Right now, we have one other target in the 2027 class connected to Gonzaga. That's Dooney Johnson. Dooney Johnson's a 6'5" guard from Wisconsin, 19th ranked player in the 2027 class at 247 Sports. Does not have a offer, or at least it's not a reported offer from Gonzaga yet, but is another name in that class to take to keep an eye on. But like we said, it's not just 2027. The Zags also offered another player in the 2026 class, a five-star small forward whose older brother was an All-American in the college basketball ranks just 2 years ago. We got more on him coming up here in just a second. But first, guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in just 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet may be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch, and it's completely online. Rugiet connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. So head to rugiet.com/lockedoncollege and use code lockedoncollege to get 15% off today. That's rugiet.com, rugiet.com/lockedoncollege. Use promo code lockedoncollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit Rugiet website for full safety information. All right, folks, segment 2, still Andy Patton, still Locked On Zags podcast. We're still talking recruiting here on the show as we are on the day of the 2025 NBA draft, first round on Wednesday, second round on Thursday. We'll talk more about that to close out the show, but we're still on recruiting because the Zags made a pair of offers just about 24 hours ago as I'm recording this on Tuesday afternoon, and we got to talk about them. We talked about their offer to the top-ranked player in the 2027 class, Baba Oladotun, in the first segment, and now we're going to talk about an offer they made in the 2026 class, only their second offer in the 26 class. And this one goes to small forward Cameron Holmes. Cameron Holmes is a 6'5" wing from Millennium High School in Goodyear, Arizona. He's the 23rd ranked player in the 2026 class at 247 Sports. That makes him a 4-star player. However, in their composite rankings, which are comprised of Rivals' rankings, ESPN's rankings, On3's rankings, and 247 Sports' rankings, he's actually 16th in those rankings and a 5-star. So he's kind of a low 5, high 4-star recruit right now, right in that top 20 kind of conversation for this 2026 class. And I alluded to earlier, his brother is Dayron Holmes. Dayron Holmes was an All-American at Dayton for the Flyers in the 2023-24 season. Holmes was an absolute monster. He was a freshman in 22-23, and he balled out. He was great as a freshman. Kind of surprising he didn't transfer, even declare for the draft after his freshman year. Comes back to Dayton, puts up an All-American team. He was a second-team All-American, averaged like 20.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, 2.3 blocks per game. Was just a tremendous player in the Atlantic 10 Conference. He was then a first-round pick by the Denver Nuggets in the 2024 NBA draft. He did not play last year, unfortunately, because he suffered an Achilles injury and missed his entire rookie season. So we haven't seen him yet at the NBA level, but If Cameron is anything like his brother, and he's already about 4 or 5 inches shorter than him, which is unfortunate, as Holmes was such a dynamic player because of his size and just veracity on the boards. But Cameron Holmes has some serious pedigree and serious NBA bloodlines, and Day'Ron was just an absolutely phenomenal player. Our scouting report on Cameron, since the Zags are not pursuing Day'Ron, they are pursuing Cameron. Scouting report here from Adam Finkelstein, the director of scouting at 247 Sports. I just paraphrased some of the notes he made. Holmes is a left-handed wing. He's got good positional size. He's really fluid. He's more fluid as he's aged, which is what you'd expect from a prospect. He's just got a good natural feel for the game, and he's a reliable decision maker. He's not like a super great passer or like creative passer, but he's a wing. When I read the notes, I made a note of like ball mover, which is what Gonzaga described like guys like Emmanuel Innocente who don't turn the ball over, but also don't create a lot of shots. They just move the ball around, and then they take their opportunities when they're there. Holmes is a better scorer than Innocente, though. He can score at all 3 levels. He's a good outside shooter. Again, he's not much of a creator or ball handler, but I don't think that's what would be asked of him in Gonzaga's system specifically. So I think that works out okay. He's also got some untapped defensive upside just thanks to his length and size. Again, his brother was a great physical defensive player. I think that you hope that translates to Cameron here as well. And similar to what we were talking about with Baba earlier, lots of teams interested in Cameron Holmes here. He's got 14 offers according to 247 Sports. Didn't write them all down here, but a few highlights as he's playing in Arizona. It's not surprising to see both Arizona and Arizona State on the list. Oregon's on the list. Kansas, UCLA, Texas, Dayton, of course, not a surprise there, and Georgetown among the schools pursuing Holmes at this point. He has not taken any official visits. He's taken one unofficial visit to Arizona back in November, and he has an official visit scheduled on September 20th in Eugene to visit the Oregon Ducks. So on 3 right now has him projected heavily leaning Oregon, which again makes sense that that's the only place he's scheduled an official visit. They're at 50%. Arizona's next at about 30%, but this was before Gonzaga had even been known to make an offer. So again, it's hard to know with Gonzaga only recently making an offer, how much contact there's been, how much interest there is, things like that. I wouldn't assume that it's not. Like I wouldn't assume that, oh, well, he's already got a visit scheduled to Oregon, so Gonzaga's out of the picture. Not at all. If Gonzaga felt they were out of the picture, they probably wouldn't even make an offer. So I think it's notable that they did make an offer here, and certainly a name to keep an eye on as he's a very, very fun player. And like we talked about earlier, Gonzaga has been very involved in the 2026 recruiting class. Holmes may be only the second player offered behind Sam Funches, but the Zags have been heavily pursuing Tyron Stokes, who we spoke about, the number 1 player in the class, who's on the FIBA U19 roster right now, which makes me curious when he's going to visit, as it's been said that he's planning to visit Spokane, but he has not done so yet. Kentucky, Arkansas, Oregon, lots of other, Louisville are all super involved here in Stokes' recruitment. Zags also contacted Tony Bryant, the 12th ranked player in the class, although he's set a very detailed visit schedule for the next couple of months that does not include Gonzaga, so I don't think he's super on the radar anymore. Number 20 ranked player in the class is Ikenna Alozie, a point guard who indicated about a month ago that he's planning to visit Spokane sometime in late June. We have not heard an update in a month, so I'm going to kind of do some digging, see if I can find anything out there. It may mean that his visit got pushed. It may mean it got canceled. It may mean it happened or is happening as we're speaking right now, and they just kept it really well under wraps. And then there's Sam Funches. Sam Funches, the 7-foot center from Mississippi, who confirmed that he is taking his official visit October 3rd through October 5th, which, by the way, he told me he's visiting for Craziness in the Kennel, and then he told me those were the dates. So it has not been officially reported. I suppose this is breaking news, but that pretty much means that Gonzaga's Craziness in the Kennel is going to take place October 4th. I think that's when most people would have expected that it would be in the calendar, but that's seemingly going to be the case for Gonzaga at this point. So it'll be great to have Funches on campus. Again, the only other known offer from Gonzaga in that class. Zags have also loosely been connected to a small forward from Provo, Utah, and Dean Ruckert, who's number 70 in the class. Seems like he's kind of a lean between Utah and Washington right now, but he has been on their radar. So like we said, Gonzaga very involved in all these names here have been 4 or 5-star players in this class. Ruckert's fallen a little bit. Funches fell a little bit. According to 247, On3 still has him in the 30s, so he's still a highly regarded prospect in that class. But this is the Zags really kind of pushing in and looking at some of the higher profile players in this class and thinking, hey, we want to strike while the iron's hot, strike while we got a little windfall of cash here with the Pac-12 media deal coming out, hopefully in the not too distant future. And so it's encouraging to see the program be so involved. I don't think that it means that they're like out on transfers, by the way. I talked about that a little bit, and I think it's a longer conversation for another time this offseason, but Gonzaga's not offering transfers right now. And the transfer portal window this year was before the House settlement was settled. So next year we might get a better sense of like how aggressive is Gonzaga at pursuing transfers? Are they going after the best of the best? Are they continually in those conversations, like deep into the recruiting process? Are they landing high profile transfers? Because I think that we will see a change there as well. We just didn't see it this year because the timing of the transfer portal window and the timing of the House settlement did not really line up, but the timing of recruiting 2026 and 2027 prospects did line up well for Gonzaga, and it's clear they're taking advantage of it. Well, folks, we're going to answer some questions here. Where will Ryan Nembhard end up when the draft is all said and done on Thursday? Which Zag is most likely to be traded this week? We talk about that and make some other NBA draft predictions to close out the show coming up in just a second. But first, folks, you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Because between dining out, online shopping, and just general entertainment costs, it's kind of easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan your long-term goals. And I know for my wife and I, especially with our young daughter in the house, we always want to make sure that we are on the same page when it comes to our finances, short-term and long-term. And thankfully with Monarch Money, managing money with your partner, it's smoother than ever before. You can track your shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the added stress and hassle. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, folks, segment 3, still Andy Patton, still Locked On Zags podcast. Moving away from our pair of conversations about recruits in the 2027 and 2026 class and what it means for Gonzaga to be so involved in those recruiting classes at this point, to instead talk about the big news for Wednesday evening, the first round of the 2025 NBA draft taking place 5 p.m. Pacific time on Wednesday. The second round will start 24 hours later at 5 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday. That is when we are more likely to hear Ryan Nembhard's name selected, projecting him to be the only player out of Gonzaga's 4 graduating seniors to get drafted this year. And we're going to talk about where we think he might go. We're going to make some other predictions. I don't want to call these bold predictions in the sense that I do one off-season show every year where I make my super bold predictions for the upcoming season. I don't expect these to be as bold, although they are a little bit more specific than maybe they should be, but just kind of talking points on what we think might happen over the next couple of days. So we'll start with Ryan Nembhard. I'm projecting that Ryan Nembhard will be selected not only in the late second round, but specifically he will go number 54 overall to join the Indiana Pacers. This is a fun thing that could happen. Of course, if Ryan were to be selected by the Pacers, he would be joining his brother, Andrew Nembhard, who is entering his 4th season, coming off of a tremendous 3rd year in the league, not only in the regular season, but in the playoffs as well. He was an incredibly crucial part of Indiana's run all the way to Game 7 of the NBA Finals before they tragically lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder after star guard Tyrese Halliburton went down with an Achilles injury 7 minutes into the game. And that's part of the reason this prediction exists, is because the loss of Tyrese Halliburton for an entire season is devastating for Indiana. And Indiana's also losing Miles Turner's a free agent, and a couple other of their bigs are free agents as well. So it makes sense for them to maybe look at like a developmental big at number 54 overall. And in fact, a lot of places are saying, well, expect Indiana to pursue guards via free agency or via trade and look to use that 54th pick as maybe like a developmental big and Amari Williams type. But for me, I could absolutely see Indiana taking Nembhard here if he's still on the board. For one, it's positive PR in a season that's going to be a little rough with Halliburton on the bench, having both Nembhards on the floor at the same time, potentially. Really fun storyline. Ryan coming in and playing the point guard role, he's not going to start, but being like their third string point guard could allow Andrew to shift off the ball, which is what the role he's been very comfortable playing since he's been in the NBA, with Tyrese Halliburton handling the point guard role. TJ McConnell's getting a little older. Ben Shepherd's not really a true point guard necessarily. Like, I think Ryan could absolutely compete for third guard, backup point guard duty on this Pacers team, and playing alongside his brother is just a fun story, and one that I'd really like to see shake out. So this is also a bit of I'm hopeful that this happens for Ryan Nembhard, but I also wouldn't be all that surprised if it happened. Nobody knows the Nembhards better than the Pacers, and they're picking in the range that he's expected to go. So I think this makes some sense. Number 2 is a prediction about both Nolan Hickman and Ben Gregg. And if we're talking about predictions I'm more hopeful for than I am projecting, this definitely qualifies there. Many of you will know this, that I am a Portland Trailblazers fan, and I predict that both Hickman and Gregg will sign Exhibit 10 deals with the Blazers after the season. After the draft. So the draft happens. Some guys get immediately signed to two-way contracts. Some guys get brought in on summer league deals. Exhibit 10 deals are basically, I should say, summer league deal with the possibility of then getting an Exhibit 10 deal. Summer league deal just means they're bringing you onto their summer league roster. Summer league takes place over about 2 weeks in early July, shortly after the draft concludes. It's kind of just chaos ball for a couple of weeks as these guys are all trying out for to make the roster or trying, kind of learning new roles or whatever they're trying to do in summer league. I see the Blazers bringing in Gregg in part because he's a local kid, and guys like this often get invited to their local teams. Like, I think it just makes sense for Ben to get a chance to wear a Blazers uniform and work out for the team while they see what he's got. And if they like him, maybe he gets an Exhibit 10 where he gets to come to training camp. Maybe they just try to keep him in the G League and put him on the Rip City roster. How fun would it be if Ben kept balling out at the Child Center? He's always had historically great games at the Child Center. If Ben Gregg were in the G League but playing for any other team, I think he'd be good. But if Ben Gregg's in the G League playing for the Rip City Remix, he might be like a friggin' all-star because he loves playing at the Child Center. Nolan Hickman, I think, makes sense for Portland because they desperately need shooting. They needed shooting before they traded Anthony Simons, who's very clearly their best three-point shooter. They traded him for Drew Holiday, who's a great defender, but not a three-point shooter. So the Blazers need three-point shooting desperately. I think they will address it in the draft. I think they will address it in free agency. But if you're looking for some guys they could sign and bring to Summer League and see what they can do, another local kid who played at a local school, who is a lights-out three-point shooter, makes a ton of sense to me. Number 3, talking about the only other graduating senior left for Gonzaga, Khalif Battle is a top 5 points per game scorer in the Summer League. And this is bold. This is the bold one out of this group. There's plenty of high-level competition that Battle will be competing against. If Trey Johnson plays in the Summer League or Jeremiah Fears, who are both projected lottery picks, who are high-level scorers, they're going to score a whole boatload of points. Even some non-lottery guys like Walter Clayton, Cam Jones, Mark Sears, Caleb Love, RJ Lewis, Eric Dixon. Some of those guys might not even get drafted, but they're also high-level scorers. And if you didn't get drafted, or if you were a late second-round pick, you're fighting for your career in the Summer League. You got to ball the heck out, and I think these guys are going to do it. But that's what I think about Khalif Battle too. And as we've said with Summer League, like, it's going to start a few weeks after the draft. There's not coaching. There's not plays. There's not a lot of setup. It's kind of just get out there and hoop. It's 5-on-5 scrimmages. And that's an environment where I think Khalif Battle thrives. He's going to get the ball. He's going to get downhill to his right side. He's going to get to the rim. He's going to get fouled. He's going to get to the free throw line. And I think if he gets hot, if he has a couple microwave type games, he could finish the Summer League averaging like 18, 20, 22 points a game. And you're like, whoa, where did this guy come from? I don't think Battle's going to get drafted, but he's absolutely going to play in the Summer League. And if he plays well enough, that could lead to him getting an Exhibit 10 contract, maybe even a two-way contract, or at least a spot in the G League if that's where he wants to be. 4th and final prediction here, Corey Kispert will be traded. I made this one more specific than I needed to, but Corey Kispert will be traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. It's not a secret that Washington is looking to trade Corey Kispert to get a little bit younger, as they are just perpetually in a rebuild. A lot of the talk was that Washington was going to try to trade up from number 6 in the draft, potentially to move up to 3, which is where Philadelphia picks. I think that that's a little bit less likely now that Ace Bailey has opted not to work out with Philadelphia and doesn't view them as a team he wants to go to. I think Washington at this point, if they want Ace Bailey, might just wait and hope he's still there at 6, because it feels like there's a good chance that he will. I think VJ Edgecombe and Trey Johnson might both go ahead of him. And then that's 4 guys right there with Flagg and Harper. So then it's just whether Fears goes ahead of him or Con Knipple or somebody like that. And Washington could end up getting their guy at 6. But Kispert's a really good fit in Philadelphia. They need some floor spacing. They need three-point shooting pretty desperately. Paul George fell off a cliff last year. Kispert's not obviously as good of a player as Paul George or as dynamic, but he's a floor spacer, an off-ball mover. I think alongside Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain, I think he's a really good fit. So I'd love to see Kispert in Philadelphia, and I think there is the way for this trade to work for both sides here, whether it's moving up in the draft or not. That's going to wrap it up for me today here on the Locked On Zags podcast. Folks, thank you so much for making this show your first listen or your first watch of the day. We got a lot going on right now in Zag Nation. We're going to continue to keep you up to date on what's going on with the Pac-12, whether it's the new media rights deal, whether it's expansion options, whether it's both. We'll keep you up to date there. We'll, of course, keep you up to date on the NBA draft, any trades that happen, any other situations with Ryan Nembhard, Ben Gregg, Caleb Battle, or Nolan Hickman. Keep you up to date on those things, more recruiting, more if we hear any more on Mario St. Superi, all that good stuff coming your way here in the next couple of days. Thanks again, folks. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And of course, as always, go Zags.